Hello there. Welcome back to Charles Circle, and welcome back to Captain of Industry. Last time, we started producing aluminum so we can launch the first rockets of our space program. We'll need to stockpile it for a moment though, and there are a few other things around the base to take care of, so today will be a shorter episode focused on resolving those odds and ends that have piled up lately, as well as a bit of decoration, which we're always behind on. All the while, aluminum will build up in the background so that we can hit the ground running on rocket building next episode. Without further ado then, let's get into it. Alright, so today's to-dos. As mentioned, it's a grab bag of leftovers and such. It should be a pretty chill episode, and I imagine the runtime will be a bit below average as well. It's kind of what I need to do to make sure that I have something out for you today around a vacation that I'm taking, but I could honestly go for a relaxed session anyway, so let's dive into it. These are the things that are on my mind. We'll probably not do all of them. We'll probably do a couple things that are not on this list, but it's a starting point. And I think the first thing I would like to get to is finishing this fertilizer expansion that we started 2 episodes ago now. We got this organic fertilizer component expanded over on this side of the tracks and then never really finished the drill. So I think we should probably go ahead and get working on that. So the first thing I think we can probably do is go ahead and clean up all of the existing architecture over here, give ourselves a bit of space to work with. And we've got it all over there already anyway, so this is all pretty duplicative, including that pipeline and really all of this. So we'll start there. And what we'll probably plan to come back and do is double up, I think, both this set of mixers and this set of chem plant 2s. I will actually make it nice and clean and tidy once we know exactly where everything's going to go. But let's start by removing the stuff we don't need. And we'll have to get the compost cleared out of here as well. So, of course, the organic fertilizer, right, needs to come across the tracks here and enter this set of chem plants so that it can help the rest of the fertilizer 1 ingredients go a little bit further, which will be helpful because ammonia is a bit of a precious resource for us. We're going to expand that production as well. And by the way, something else that's cool about 4.2, if you go into the statistics, I mean, you've always had this view, now you have this breakdown view, and you can see where we've been getting our ammonia from. It's mostly sour water strippers, mostly, I would imagine, specifically this set right here, but we do have a few in both of our refineries on St. Charles and Silicon Ridge, respectively. So we're getting about 2/3 of it from here, but we're getting about 1/3 of it from these chem plant 2s that were, well, just this one really, I guess, where we're making some supplemental ammonia to backfill when this isn't enough. And then over here you can see where we're consuming it. All of these by recipes, each of these by the color. And so you can see that, yeah, for the vast majority of it, it's really just going into fertilizer, right? And we do have some consumption for the use of antibiotics over here in our med supplies 2 factory. And there's a very tiny amount that we are stripping down into nitrogen and hydrogen, which is a little counterintuitive given how much we're doing over here, but it's just a tiny amount because over in our Silicon Ridge refinery, it just wasn't worth exporting this microscopic amount of ammonia and sending it all the way across the map once a century when there's enough for a train to run. So you can sort of see the magnitude with which I dismissed that idea way back in the day. Why now? So rather than taking my word for it, we can point to stats, which is kind of cool. The other one that I like looking at was, so the fuel gas one's fascinating, right? Of course, we're getting a vast majority of it here by import. And there's still, though, a decent amount that's sludge derived. Now, some of this is just the sludge that we are also importing, right? Over here from our slag to sludge contract. But we really like the amount that we're producing around the base is nothing. We are highly import dependent. And the problem is, well, not the problem, but the extension of that weakness is that it's a huge chunk of it is just fuel for our trains, and the rest of it is a huge, huge chunk of how we're making our hydrogen. You can see, though, that our excess power electrolyzers that we have over on Silicon Ridge for any time we're producing more power than we need, they're firing often enough that we have some supplemental hydrogen coming from that. But yeah, mostly this is our fuel gas into hydrogen core economic loop. So kind of cool to see these in graphs and numbers. This is something I could spend a very long time diving down the rabbit hole of. Sulfur's another very instructive one, right? We get almost equal parts from exhaust stripping and sour water stripping. So the reason I didn't really bring this up last episode is that I guess implementing this partway through a playthrough, right? Like you kind of have to let some years go by. It doesn't have data going all the way back. And I imagine it's pulling specifically from individual buildings. So if you've deleted a building, it's no longer on here or something historically. I don't know, still wrapping my head around exactly how this data is sourced, but you can see that, you know, letting the game run for a little bit to actually generate this is has been a bit necessary, but super cool to see. And cool, while I was being distracted by that, we've finished cleaning up over here and we can expand a little bit. So I do still want to have a working buffer for ammonia over here, partly so that we can drop something off, but partly because I think the sort of cyclic nature of our sour water delivery is, you know, kind of requires that. I think we'll do the same thing with sulfur, and I do want to bring it out here so we can similarly truck it in if necessary. But I do think we're going to be still net exporters of sulfur. And I want to be net exporters of ammonia over here as well, because we're about to start needing it in decent amounts to make chemical fuel for our space program. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to have this up and running before we really got too far into that production. We already have hydrogen over here as well, so we'll probably revamp the way that this is hooked up here and get, let's say, 2 copies of this chem plant, which is making the supplemental ammonia, and probably room for more, honestly. We'll also do working buffers of both oxygen and nitrogen here, I guess, because we need the oxygen for the fertilizer production, but we need the nitrogen for the ammonia production. So just having a way to potentially balance that out would be, I think, helpful. At any rate, that means we will delete some of this to make more room. So I guess let's start here. Yeah, I think that's fine. We'll just expand this directly out here just as we've done here. So let me clean this up and add a couple more buildings. I will come up for oxygen quickly, I promise. All right, well, there may have been a way to save some of those buildings, but I figured it was actually probably just better to start from scratch here. So we'll need, I think, 4 of these oxygen, these air separators for oxygen and nitrogen, because each of these is 36, right? And we're gonna have 4 of them, so that should be 1-to-1. And we'll want, as I mentioned, some working buffers for those. We also need the chem plants over here. So I think what I'm going to do is probably arrange it like this. I'm actually just going to go over and steal our steel plant, actually, the array there with all the pipes set up. I think they come in 4s, so I'll snag that, put some working buffers here, and then have it cycle back around. But otherwise, we're just going to double everything up here. This is maybe not enough throughput. Well, I mean, mathematically it isn't. I just don't know if these are going to run at 100%. If they do, this is not enough, and we'll just double this up too. But I think we'll be okay without it for now. Need to make sure that we run the ammonia over here too. So I suppose we'll connect this up right like so. I think other thing to mention, we're not going to increase the throughput of our sour water strippers right now. They are not the bottleneck on really any of this. Our bottleneck is the actual sour water supply. So we basically just run this down as soon as we get it in here. And the issue really is just that we don't have slag cycling through the contract enough for all of the sour water to be, up here constantly. That's why we need the actual supplemental ammonia in the first place. Of course, we'll expand that contract. That's part of what we want to do out here in the Harborfront area. But until then, there's really no point in this, although we will leave room in this area for us to expand in that direction if we would like in the future. So I think I will, get the rest of this part of the module done next. So I'll see you in just a moment. All right, well, I think that ends up being pretty much everything that we need to do buildings-wise. So, what the heck? We've got the Unity, right? And all the parts. I love the late game so much. One click. And here we are. So, tracing it real quick. Actually, I do need to get this last bit cleared out here, but tracing it real quick. Starting here, we have oxygen and nitrogen that are coming through this area. And oxygen will be the thing that caps us eventually, right? We do have to have something that caps us eventually, or we're just running all of overflow out into a smokestack and these things are just running for forever indefinitely. It's a bit of a waste of power. It's not the end of the world, but it is a bit of a waste of power. So we will only, when the nitrogen is fully backed up, run the excess out here, but the oxygen keeping this fertilizer going will be, I think, the actual cap. So that nitrogen then comes in here and mixes with some hydrogen piped in from the train station and makes this ammonia. Now this ammonia is backup only. So if we have ammonia coming out of the sour water strippers, that will be prioritized because it's less expensive, frankly, to make than this is. But we want to make sure that we have it. So in either case, all of it will flow onward here with priority out to our working buffer, which by the way also accepts from trucks bringing it in. And that all flows in here to the Fertilizer 1 stage, which also receives, of course, the oxygen from the air separation we already talked about, along with the fertilizer, organic fertilizer out here, right? Comes around this way. So ideally, we're pretty much always using this recipe. It's not the end of the world if we have to use this, but we would prefer. And I think this is a fine working buffer. For the most part, it's just gonna get sort of backed up here anyway. The math, the way this works out is, you know, we need 4 of these for 4 of these if we're using the crappy recipe, 60 in. But if we're using the good one, well, we'll be able to run this less often. So that's the hope, but it's there as backup for the design. Now over here, right, we are going to accept sulfur, and if we have too much sulfur and this backs up, we do have to still keep the sour water strippers going, so the overflow, oops, that's why we double check, the overflow will come out this way to be exported. We have a bit much sulfur around the base right now, by the way. We need to get that sulfur for coal contract onto rail. It's one of the things I've got on here eventually, but I'd like to put it in that new harbor area, so maybe we'll get to that in a moment. So yeah, this hopefully should run smoothly, and if we do need to expand it, we can continue to come out in this direction. I suppose the last thing to do is to, I guess, fix this. You know, it's not really a road anymore, right? So I suppose we will remove the paint from all of these, and let's go to, this is the stone surface, right? I think it is. At any rate, can just be certain about that by pasting over top, like so. And I even think there's really no reason for this vehicle ramp to exist anymore, or this balancer, which is only here back in the day because we used this for the local farms with priority. No longer necessary. Let's get that extended here. Is that a pipe 4 randomly? Weird. Unnecessary. Cool. So I'm hoping this gives us a more consistent fertilizer supply, primarily because we do still have a handful of stations where, that's actually the best that this has looked in a while, but there are a handful of our more distant stations that occasionally, yeah, there we go, struggle. Thank you for supporting my point here, Orchard. So this is hopefully going to be helpful for us on that front, but also I think should, once that's all caught up, give us some excess ammonia to export, hopefully. This is one where I could definitely see us needing to expand this. In fact, looking at how much excess nitrogen we have in balance here, and the fact that we do have plenty of hydrogen, maybe I will just add a 3rd. Oh, what the hell, why not a 4th too? I mean, why not, right? Worst case, it just ends up sitting idle. We can always come back and pause it. Hey, we've got 4 of all the buildings now, so that feels nice, parallel, I suppose. Cool. So yeah, let's come back to this at some point just to see how it's running, but I am optimistic and we'll be watching this out of the corner of my eye. What else can we work on now that this is sorted? So, the Harborfront Terraforming, actually just because terraforming takes forever, mostly this is like checking in. Look at that, we've got most of the rock sorted. Well, what we could do is start to cap this area with dirt, right? And then eventually, my thought is let's move the sulfur coal contract out here and increase its size, right? And put that onto rail somehow. I don't know if it'll be the final way that we handle it, but really, to be honest with you, the thing that's kind of forcing our hand to at least put a temporary solution in place is there is so much sulfur out here that it's backing up our exhaust in these blast furnaces, and it's like not a problem because we have plenty of steel, but it could be if we needed plenty of steel all of a sudden. So I would like to get that onto rail just as an outlet for that, but we got to get dirt dropped off here. So we need is an unused mining tower. I have no idea why this is still here, but I guess I'll just repurpose it. And in this mining tower and this mining tower only, we can dump dirt. And with that set up, we will come in and say, okay, go for it. But here's the thing, we don't have any dirt accessible to the truck network. We have tons of excess dirt, by the way. This is, actually, that's the first time I've seen that not full in a hot second. But I think we have enough dirt that it wouldn't be the end of the world if we dumped just a little bit of it. So what we can do, I have this cheeky little storage tube over here that I've been using depending on whether our truck network has too much dirt, just to come in and drop it off supplementally, or if it needs dirt, just to flip it back out. So I'm even going to say priority out here, in fact. Bring us some dirt for the truck network to dump, and we will tell it to send it over here. I don't think there's anywhere else it would send it, so fingers crossed. And in fact, what we can do, just to be super sure, is make this an export route to that dumping zone. So just to get that moving in the background while we're working on other stuff, that should give us our first new stretch of harbor. And again, I want to do something, I don't know, more interesting than just like square up stuff with contracts. Give us a little bit more surface area in some way, shape, or form. But again, I think we just need to get this off of this awkward little corner where we've plastered it along with our trading dock in the meanwhile while we're doing renovations. So we need like a pardon our appearance during construction sign up here or something. You know what? We have that ability. Hang on. What the heck? Why not? I like that. While I was goofing around though, we've lost water due to corn due to water, excuse me, which is actually a good prompt for one of the other things I wanted to do, which is to check on this reservoir, which is just annihilated. Actually, it was so constantly annihilated, I just turned off the notification because I know. But what we need to do, I think, is flip this around. This is an export station, and it's currently supplying the settlement that we have over here. We have just across the bridge a ton of water, huge reservoir, completely full, that I think it would just make more sense to bring over here. So I think what we're going to do is just turn this set of stations, oh my god, turn this set of stations into a drop-off station, right? And then instead put this, I suppose, we could run this around. I kind of want to do a balancer where we're using this if, no, where we're not using this if we can avoid it, because I'd rather priority go to those farms over there. Yeah, I think that's the simplest thing to do. So I'm going to delete this and set up a better priority system. All right, so hopefully that's helpful. And let me know if this is ever empty. It will be initially, of course, but we're going to call this now water import. And none of this will do anything unless we get the water here put onto the Silicon Ridge local network, which means actually we're going to have to electrify all of this. So let's throw this onto the network and then electrify this half of the loop. It's not so big a deal, but it does need done. We didn't do it initially. So there we go. This may also end up, for example, shuffling some hydrogen out here. I don't think it should touch the dirt or slag though. So I think we'll be all right on that front. We do occasionally push hydrogen out of here, for example. but that'd be fine. It's not so far, it's not so big a deal. Check this out. Our first red mud, by the way, is here from our aluminum production. Is this working? Needs limestone. Did I never set up limestone last episode? I did not. Well, that is kind of funny, actually. Let's go ahead and get that sorted. Yeah, that's very funny, actually. But we have enough buffer in the system that it probably would have taken quite some time before I would have realized that that was an issue. But hey, this is a nice little way for us to get some extra crushed iron ore into the system. And of course, we won't be able to do anything with it unless and until we get this sulfur used up. But the acid required to produce this will help just the tiniest bit, right? It's not a ton, but it's something. So hopefully that's helpful. Keep an eye on it. And I suppose, yeah, Unity. We have so much Unity these days. We've been sitting on cap. I should be spending it on edicts and stuff, but I honestly just like having it for all these quick construction needs. Cool. So I'm going to call this resolved and maybe remember to check on it in the future, but I think that should do what we want it to do. How's our bauxite mine doing, by the way? Speaking of follow-ups from last episode, I think this is working. Our cheeky refuel is functional, which is good. And we're starting to carve out some space over here. I don't think this is going to break the train tracks with our dumping, fingers crossed. But it's good so far. I'm trying to decide. I would love to get more like dirt and rock pushed through this so that we have space here sooner, but I actually think, unfortunately, what we need to prioritize is actual bauxite supply. As you can see, this train is waiting, but we are full out here, so that's good. Is our production hindered by something, presumably? Alumina, meaning CO2. Oh, interesting. Ah, okay. Right, so we import a bunch of this. Oh, I see what I did. Yep, that's on me. Okay, so what I needed to do actually was put this here. Yeah, there we go. I set this up, forgot to build it, and then when I came back to build it, forgot how I set it up. But the idea here should be that we prioritize the use of recycled CO2 derived graphite. And I never actually had the balancer being the thing supplying. So hopefully, yeah, that gets things moving. Good, good. All right, and the amount of CO2 that we're recycling here is nowhere near enough to supply the graphite here, so that should not clog up in the future. Cool. Well, this is why we check on things. Speaking of checking on things, there it is. So our reforestation efforts from a couple episodes seem to be complete over here. So maybe it's time to have this forestry tower work somewhere else. I like this look, it's pretty cool. You know what, maybe before we have him leave, I'll just have him fill in this area. I don't plan to use it for anything else right now. So yeah, let's just do it. I'm enjoying a little bit more dark green on the map. So let's expand the area and edit the designation. Tell him to get after it over here. Yeah, there we go. Help our citizens forget that they live like 2 seconds away from a very active mine. Cool. Low animal feed. That seems like an issue. We do have, I think, sufficient animal feed out on the network, although I could be wrong. How are we doing here? It does seem to have nosedived. Nosedived? Nosedove? At any rate, yeah. I think given that we were having some water troubles out here, we must have lost a good chunk of what is our primary producer of animal feed, our potatoes and corn. So hopefully that bounces back. Wouldn't be the first issue that our chickens have survived. So fingers crossed they'll be okay. And there goes our first shipment to the aluminum warehouse over here. Here it is. Cool. That's good to see. Of course, we don't have anywhere else for it to send things just yet, but we will soon. Let's check on a few other things then. How are things over at the fertilizer factory? Okay, so checking this out, it does look like we are backing up a little bit faster than I would hope, which is unfortunately nerfing our backup ammonia production, just because we're full up here. Although this is a sulfur issue. Okay. Well, hopefully our trucks will bring that in soon. I suppose just temporarily we could fix that by flipping this around. There's a big pile of it here, and we really don't need it for anything else. So let's start with that. And maybe I'm gonna like immediately reverse course on overflowing oxygen might be worth it. So I mean, look, how much power are we really talking about? If these things are running unnecessarily, it's all of what, 1.6 extra megawatts some of the time. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm just gonna make one of these right underneath for oxygen, and it will also overflow to this tower. All right, so give that a little bit of a speed up and it should be back in motion. Now, admittedly, it does make these working buffers a little unnecessary since we've gone and made the overflow anyway, but that's all right. I'm not going to clean them up. We may yet find that they are helpful in the future, so sure, why not? Hopefully this means more ammonia. We need to get some of it out onto the rails for sure. And then checking in on the harbor. Yeah, so this is good. This is coming along already. Nice to see. We will extend it out this way once this is filled in, but this zone should be enough for us to relocate that that contract dock. Fingers crossed. And hopefully it's not crushing our dirt supply too badly. Looks like we're holding on okay so far. It should mean probably, yeah, that we're going through our biomass a little bit faster, which I don't mind. We were pretty close to backing up on, honestly, out at a couple settlements. So that seems to me like a good thing. Did we get everything like officially at 100% out this way now? We're feeling good? I think so. It looks that way to me. And red mud processing is hopefully officially also going well. Yeah, it looks like we have processed all of it that we've been able to bring up. Cool. Of course, we are still then, yeah, sulfur loaded up here. So we are going to have to figure something out to do with that. Not incredibly pressing until it turns into a steel issue, but it's not going to go away just because we hope it does. That's not how it works. All right, so then I think we might try to get some stuff onto rails. The thought here generally is we still have a handful of things that are supplied via truck, right? All of these items here and here for our vehicle setup and our lab and maintenance stuff. And if we could get all of it onto rail, we would save our trucks a little bit of work, but we would also sort of remove the necessity of a lot of these sort of awkward road spaces and whatnot, which would give us a little bit more freedom when we want to redesign the highway, sort of do an expansion project here to help with traffic, something we've sort of talked about off and on for quite some time now. Traffic's gotten a little better. It's made it less of a pressing issue, but it is something that we probably would benefit from handling eventually, so something to think about. So if we wanted to do that, sorting out this zone would be helpful. So the exhaust scrubber itself, that's what this is here for. And then this awkward little station is our half attempt to drop off some of these things by train, right? It's part of our shuttle. But I think it would be better to get proper, decent-sized storages, call it out here as a sort of a reworked, expanded version of this train station to supply everything to our lab and maintenance area. So the fun thing is we basically just need, for the most part, this set of goods right here, over here, right? So steel, glass, wood, steel, glass, wood, electronics 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now that's not everything. Of course, we'd be supplying servers manually. We also do need to bring in some limestone manually, or we could put that onto rail as well. It just feels like a bit much for a tiny bit of paper production. Regardless, if we do it, we don't have to think about it anymore, so I think we probably will. So what I'm thinking is I'll take this, more or less, slot it in here-ish. Have to remove this, get this in as a fourth station on one side, and maybe some limestone as a fourth station on the other. So let me hop in here real quick and take care of that. All right, so this is sort of what I'm thinking for the stations, right? Just to make it a little bit more apparent. So relatively straightforward, right? It's just a big old 8-pack of stations, and hopefully our shuttle network is able to grab stuff and bring it all in here. I don't think it should be too much of a traffic issue, but let's see. If we need to adjust where this comes from, that's fine. We'll figure it out. But I think this as a station area makes a lot of sense. Then we're gonna have to run all 8 belts through here, which, oh boy, that feels like the first opportunity for us to use one of the new ramps. So excited for that opportunity. And then of course we're gonna need to run those connections into where we, actually consume these things today. So let's start by cleaning up over here. Or you know what, maybe that's a fine enough spot. Yeah, let's start by placing the ramp because it does have a couple restrictions that I'm still getting used to, but let's just do something like this maybe. Yeah, sure, why not, right? Looks fine to me. And we can get all 3 of these belts under that loop here without disrupting this, and those 4 under those 2 sets. Yeah, this will work. Maybe just to be super safe, we can extend these all the way out here because why not? And yeah, I think this will work. So let me run some belts to make some adjustments over here, but it should be relatively straightforward. So let me dive in and take care of it. All right, so I think that's electronics 1, 2, and 3 threaded in here. We're gonna have to flip the direction on a few of these belts, but ultimately that should allow us to clean up a lot of this, actually. And that includes all the way out through to here. We just need to make sure that electronics 3 continues out here for servers. So cool, that's a good start. And then on this side, we'll have sort of our I guess, smallest 2 belts and then also the larger 2 for sure. So the rest of these just need to come out through this way. I do kind of want to clean up this area first, because I think that's where the belts will run the cleanest through. So I'm gonna clean that up real quick. It's just struck me, and maybe a little bit too late, that these are pretty critical things I've just deleted the supplies on. Let's get the delivery of these things in motion, quickly at least, and maybe start by throwing the stations onto the St. Charles Manufacturing Network. 1 and 2. So this will be, I guess, St. Charles Lab and Maintenance 1, and this one number 2. All right, so fingers crossed that is not too painful for us. The last thing we need to do is, I think I've got steel yet still to yeah, steel needs connected. All right, I think that's everything sorted. Let's see if our trains can hurry up and get stuff in here. I really do hope that's not too much of an issue. But the other thing this will allow us to do, fortunately, is clean up a lot of this nonsense as well. So let's go ahead and enjoy that all the way through that ramp even. I suppose the rest of this is still working, but not a rush to make this adjustment until we're cleaned up over here. So let this run for a minute, see how badly I've screwed things up from a critical supply perspective, and see if we have to do any firefighting. But if not, I think this will be a pretty nice, clean, new logistics setup, and this should remove some of our truck's issues, as well as some of the kind of the nonsense in this area. So hopefully this works well. I mean, we're getting pretty close to the edge here, but fortunately our electronics are arriving just in time, and that should be all that we need for Maintenance 1 to quickly catch its breath, I hope. Did end up having to do a cheeky resupply temporarily, but there's our first proper steel shipment. So this should not be necessary anymore. Let's let it drain out while this still builds up. We don't need to request it to be full anymore. And everything else seems to be working just fine. We've got all of our electronics 1 and 2, maybe not yet. No, it's in here somewhere. Yeah, it's just not thoroughly supplied yet, but it is coming in. So fine. Yes, I think we've made this transition. It is... I'm sure we'll do some more work in this area. We're going to have to upgrade, right, to Research Lab 4 in the relatively near future. It's one of the reasons I kind of wanted to have this transition to rail already complete. So the last thing I want to do in this area is make sure that this part matches, because it's part of this, I guess, complex of these 3 factory modules or buildings, or however you want to call it. So that, I wonder how bad this would be Unity-wise. Done. Love it. That looks more consistent across these all, I think. One thing I was thinking about was we have that construction parts supply network. Oh my god, you're facing the wrong way. What are you doing? Okay, sorry. One of the other things that happened with 4.2 is trains are now able to kind of go in and fork and turn around instead of going around the map trying to find a loop. And I haven't chased down all of these areas, but these stupid turbine trains are now trying to go in a couple places and bounce back and forth. Like, I actually put a waypoint here to try out the deny network concept. And this is cool. That's also 4.2. So 4.2 gives us the tools to solve the problems that 4.2 has caused us. But we, overall, it's a good thing, of course. But I have a little bit of whack-a-mole to play there. All right, I've gotten very distracted with train traffic. I swear, like 90% of the time things are completely fine, and then when they aren't, the whole thing just absolutely explodes. And so this guy is blocked by, yeah, this crossing over is a pretty big issue, and I think I'm just gonna unfortunately have to make that red track all the way through, even though that's going to cause its own smaller traffic issues. We just can't have trains stopping in that area any longer. All right, hopefully that's enough to solve that out. What I was saying is this construction parts factory supply network are basically just these double length fellas, and we could use those here too, maybe. Might be more efficient. So I think as a trial, we're going to throw these two stations onto that network, and if that does help, honestly might migrate some of these smaller trains over towards that larger network. I've been flirting with that idea for a minute, so oof. All right, well, this will take care of itself in a second. Somebody's in the way still, I'm sure. Oh, well, and of course then this guy got into this space. We need no stops here as well. I swear I have gone back and forth on this several times because having a stop here, a no stop zone, slows down trains in here. We really are going to redesign this whole highway for these, particularly the turbine train network access. So I'm looking forward to that, but that is a whole can of worms that we are not going to open today. All right, yeah, our animal feed issues have forced my hand. I'm gonna have to bring in water on the turbine train network over here as a supplement. For whatever reason, we're not getting enough brought in here to save our water reservoir, and it's just causing an issue that really doesn't have to happen. We can just get fluid trains in here to back up. So we'll still prefer to use the local water when we can, but we will bring in, hopefully with some pretty aggressive priority, some water out here, because we are losing crops that are essentially going to mean that we lose our chickens too. In fact, I'm gonna quick harvest a couple of those to avoid the fact that they're gonna dry out entirely. Just grab a premature harvest, better than nothing. And honestly, we might have to quickly prioritize this out here so that we don't lose every single chicken on the island. Fun stuff. Remember when I said this was gonna be a fun, chill episode? Here I am balancing maintenance crises and animal feed crises. Who doesn't have a mining designation? Now we're going through more iron ore. Good stuff. Keep going. Well, the good news though is that our fertilizer rework is definitely working. Check that out. That's basically today's episode. We'll definitely take that. And once that starts to back up, it'll take the other stations also being full, but once that does start to back up, we'll also, I think, be exporting more excess ammonia, which is also exciting. So, cool. Good to see that. Did I just see maintenance 2 as an issue now? Yeah, so that will be our electronics 2 delivery, I'm sure. Tell me some is en route, and it is, so don't worry, that'll take care of itself. All right, well, a little while later, we've recovered on the animal feed, and our chickens are, well, they've survived. I won't say they're thriving, but they're back on the way to thriving. The supply seems better now, and that is naturally because the water drop-off out here is helping. And we'll use this reservoir, of course, when we can, but it's going to be just fine if we need to have trains drop off for both of those stations now at this point. and it's really not even having much of an impact at all out here, which is primarily where it is pulling from. So happy to see that. That is, of course, a positive development, or at least the removal of a previous negative development. And we are also doing okay over here. So we had there's a lot of jammed up train traffic. Oh, and this guy needs refueled. A lot of jammed up train traffic in this area, especially just trying to get these stockpiles built. And as you can see, we're still not all the way there. We haven't even started with glass yet, but that's okay. We only need it and wood for research materials, which we still aren't producing yet. So I think one of the things that I've done that is in fact helpful is what I was suggesting earlier, which is moving towards the larger two-train or two-car flatbed wagon network. So I've added a couple trains already to that one, and I do believe I'll add another, and we'll probably move away from the smallish flatbed guys. They're just, I mean, for some things it's fine, but for others, it's just not the way to go. Just too many of them floating around. So that'll probably be part of the evolution of train traffic for sure in this area, but it's hanging in there. It's hanging in there so far. So how did we do overall? Well, we'll put this definitely onto rail. I think the Harborfront Terraforming is, yeah, complete. Very nice. So what we're going to do is, do we want to extend that? Do we want to let's let our dirt catch its breath. We're still filling in with rock over here, so I don't think we're quite ready yet there. But we can at least get this started. Call it there, maybe? Seems fine to me. So I'll start to build that, and this can get migrated over. And I'm looking forward to that for sure, because our poor little steel factory has really got a pretty rough go of it as far as getting the sulfur out of the exhaust scrubbers goes. Again, it's not yet translating into any sort of issue. We are so full on steel out here that, you know, we might as well be backed up on steel, right? We'd be stopped here either way. It doesn't really matter. It will be good to have that out of the system, at least as a way to be able to handle that. Aluminum seems to be working, but we do have a bit of excess red mud, unfortunately. I wonder if that's just a train network capacity issue, because we are certainly able to process it. So maybe we increase the priority on this. It may well be that we need another fluid train or two on our turbine train network, given that we've asked it to handle a bit more water of late. So why not? Let's do it. Otherwise though, I think everything else is looking pretty good. So we definitely, I would say we got this, you know, we made progress on this, the progress we needed to make on this, and we made some progress here. Haven't quite yet done the vehicle parts drop off. Honestly, thinking about just like, I don't know, probably would have to move this, but like move it over here and have it do double duty as both the truck drop off and have those belts run directly into this complex, which we could probably expand a little bit for whatever it's worth. We don't always have a ton of vehicle parts available to us. So probably for next time, similar summary and prognosis for when we'll get to it on the exhaust scrubber over here as well. But this sort of internal area could use a little bit of tweaking still. Still though, this was probably the bigger deal, and it's working, which is a positive. So I think I'm gonna have to call it there for the day, just based on what time it is in real life right now. I need to wrap this one up, but it ended up being, glancing at what I think the runtime will be, maybe a little bit longer even than I expected. So happy Friday, I suppose. When I am back next week, we will definitely get into rocketry. pretty excited. We've definitely got the aluminum that we need. So it's really just a matter of setting up a couple small productions just to get the composite panels going and a couple other things. And then we'll be ready to launch rockets, which is pretty cool. I feel like we've been on the verge of it, but at the same time, I'm also like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're at this stage of the playthrough somehow already. So very excited for it. I hope you are too. If you are, make sure to come by again for the next one. Until then, now, have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.